Let's take a look at the San Francisco 49ers. So for the 49ers, obviously for them, they made an incredible run playing bully ball last year. Now, Mike McDaniels departs. He goes to the Miami Dolphins, and a lot of people are wondering how big of an impact might that have, because we all know Kyle Shanahan really is the one who was calling plays, even though McDaniels listed as the OC. I think this is a big year for Kyle Shanahan. Now, I think for them, the one thing that stood out to me was just how resilient of a football team San Francisco was. And when they needed to win and run the table, essentially at the end of the season, they needed to beat the LA Rams. They did it. And then they go on the road at Lambeau and they beat Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Then they beat the Dallas Cowboys, Tommy. And then, they lose once again to the LA Rams, who went on to win the Super Bowl. The 49ers are right there with the Rams, in my opinion. I think that out of all the teams right now inside the NFC West, I feel like the 49ers, with their defense, with the offensive weapons that they do have, and if their running backs can stay healthy this year with Elijah Mitchell, this is a team that I feel like can make a pretty significant run in the 2022 NFL postseason. Your thoughts here on the San Francisco 49ers and maybe how they compete with the LA Rams for the top spot in that NFC West division?
Yeah, I think from a top-down aspect, I think the 49ers would be the team that I think competes probably the best with the Los Angeles Rams. We saw this last year, and I think a big portion of that sport, especially down the stretch, for me, what impressed me the most about the 49ers was their run fit. The way they could be able to just have the holes, all of a sudden the linebackers come up and fill, or then it's a second level coming down here and filling up in the run. Like, that was what helped them out so much, because they were able to eliminate the running game from a lot of these teams. It's what helped them so much also against Green Bay. Aaron Jones wasn't able, or A.J. Dillon were not able to really get off the ground and get doing too much. They said, hey, Aaron Rodgers, you're going to be the one to beat us. They were able to hold Aaron Rodgers then at that point too, and it was really just the Green Bay Packers' second special teams that really screwed them over in that game. But for me, the 49ers, how consistent they were on defense, that was one of the biggest things for me. For me, the biggest question this year, it comes down to the quarterbacks. Is this going to be Jimmy Garoppolo or is it going to be Trey Lance? I don't think there's a good lean one way or another, which is a bit surprising, because if you would have asked me this, last season when they pull off the trade to move up and get Trey Lance, I thought, okay, yeah, this is the year for Jimmy Garoppolo. Whatever he does, it's an audition for 31 other teams. Essentially 31 other teams. Yeah. He was saying, okay, no matter, even if you win the Super Bowl, it probably won't be enough to have you come back, because 49ers, they bet the farm on Trey Lance moving up to acquire him. But then you hear the rumors coming out that, look, Trey Lance isn't as far ahead as we thought he would be. There's still questions about his development. And I get that to a certain extent, but for me, I feel like Trey Lance could just unlock a whole different level of this 49ers offense. But if they don't feel like he's ready, then it's going to be the Jimmy Garoppolo show, as much as we kind of didn't think that was going to be the case. And if it is, then look, it might be status quo moving forward. We kind of know what to expect out of this offense. Deebo Samuel will be the number one option on the offensive side of the ball. Brandon Ayuk will be a fantastic, yards at the catch kind of guy. You've got one of the best blocking tight ends and receiving tight ends in the NFL, in George Kittle, who's the people's tight end, as we all love to call him. And then you have Elijah Mitchell, who was just a incredible volume style running back last year. Almost every, I believe it was in of his 11 games, he had over 17 carries, I think in 9 of those games, and also including 2 more of those in the postseason, 21 in the wild card round, and then another 17 carries in the divisional round against the Green Bay Packers. For the first time, Kyle Shanahan leaned on a singular running back and found a ton of success with Elijah Mitchell. It was just the injuries. He would be on again, off again, on again, off again. It is what it is. Maybe that kind of eases itself out this year, or maybe they try to use, hey, let's try to get Trey Sermon involved a little bit more, a guy that we drafted in the 4th round we didn't even use last year, although I do think still Elijah Mitchell fits this wide zone scheme a lot more. I think it's an interesting point, too. When we talk about Kyle Shanahan, what is this offense going to look like without Mike McDaniel? Because that is going to be a talking point. Mike McDaniel really helped, was the one that got this offense, especially the running game, off the ground. In his 5 years there, the San Francisco 49ers were always one of the best running teams in the NFL, because those two worked so well together, Shanahan and McDaniel. So with Shanahan on his own, I think they'll be just fine. But could we see a few kinks in the armor going along the way? Maybe. I think so. I think offensively, this team is still going to be just fine. Defensively, you have a couple questions, because they did lose a couple guys. Well, they brought in Tre'Davious Ward from the Kansas City Chiefs. But at the same time, you lose someone like a DJ Jones, who went to the Denver Broncos. So I think you've got some key pieces still here in the best places. You've still got Nick Bosa, who could just demolish an offensive line on his own. So I don't have any concerns there. Yeah, to me, the 49ers are probably the team I think has the best odds to compete against the Rams, so far as everything on paper kind of matches what we saw last year in 2021. It wasn't just some aberration or whatever, some figment that won't actually come back again this year.
Well, they're going to have to really bolster some of the spots on their defense, especially in the nickel. Yep. They lost K'Wan Williams to the Denver Broncos. You mentioned defensive interior. They lost DJ Jones, as you mentioned there. They should be getting Javon Kinlaw back, their former first-round pick that they had in the NFL draft, battled injuries last season. I think they have a lot of potential to be an even scarier defense this upcoming season. Obviously, you still have Fred Warner at that linebacker position. Yep. I'd say the biggest issue when watching the 49ers last year, a lot of the times their DBs were in position to make plays. It was just when the ball's in the air, failing to make those plays when the ball is in the air, sometimes biting on double moves. I think that they're going to have to bolster some things up there on the secondary side of things. But, man, they're going to be an aggressive defense that is still going to be very tough to deal with in 2022.